Indian American community committed to preserving the vast customs of a vibrant cultural heritage.
Welcome to Darshan America, folks. We come to you from Washington, D.C. My name is Ramesh Butani.
And I'm Aastha Verma.
And I must tell you, President Obama is actually, his poll numbers are rising. You know, he's been on the road trying to sell the program called Soak the Rich, tax everybody who makes more than $250,000, and also saying that his program for jobs should be approved at $447 billion that he has asked the Congress. Separate surveys were done even by Republicans, and the message is actually sticking. Everybody really thinks that, yes, rich should pay more taxes than the lower income, particularly when Mr. Cain, Herman Cain, came out with his 9, 9, and 9. It became very obvious that the poor people will pay more in taxes than the rich people. And that doesn't sit well with the rest of the 99%, you know, including me. I really think anyone makes more than $1 million, more than $5 million, they should have special tax.
I agree. You know, the president is struggling, I think. I know you're saying that his poll numbers have gone up, but I think he's actually in a last bid, desperate attempt to get something to pass with the Congress. You know, both sides, the House and the Senate, shot down his bill.
Yeah.
And now what he's trying to do, he's trying to pass it in piecemeal fashion, or at least get some kind of success out of this program effort. Otherwise, it'll go down as a big failure. He comes in as president. He's not able to pass this bill. He's got to find a way to find some kind of success out of this.
He's getting traction, but not in the way that you're thinking, but he really believes down the road this Occupy Wall Street will come out in big numbers and help him.
I agree with that. I think what he's hoping is that the American public will hold the Republican Party responsible for the fact that nothing got passed, right? Here he is, here's the president. He's putting forth an effort. He's out there selling his program. He's trying to pass it any which way he can. At least he'll be given credit for trying. Whereas the Republicans, who are just sitting back saying no to everything, come election time, they're going to have to explain why it is they haven't been able to pass anything.
You know, if he had done that the very first time, he would have really had a tremendous success when everybody was focused on jobs and he was moving in the health care. That's gone now, but let's stick with this president. What I would love to see, invest $1, get $5 return. Any project, invest $1, get a $5 return are the ones that should really go forward.
This is the problem, is that the president isn't getting traction in anything momentous or big. He's finding only small pieces of common ground in small ways, small incremental ways. They're not going to make a large amount of difference to this overall equation, which I think is the problem right now with our gridlock, is you cannot pass anything big. Even though Herman Cain is getting so much attention here for his 999 plan, it's big, it's bold, but the reality of it getting passed is nil. It's not going to get past anything.
No, wait a second.
At least it's an interesting idea.
This might be the year. This might be the election, 2012 election, when you can actually see flat tax. You know, Rick Perry has come out with his flat tax.
He is, but he doesn't nearly have the charisma that Herman Cain has to sell his plan.
But regardless, I want to tell you that France has increased taxes on their rich people. Anyone making more than 500,000 euros is going to pay 4% more. UK has done the same. Switzerland is all out there. Italy is looking at it. Spain is looking at it. You know, everybody's saying, yes, we should do that.
Absolutely, because the reality is, the argument has always been, well, if you don't tax the rich, they are the ones who can start new businesses and create new jobs, and that way they bring everybody else in. But over the last several years, I'd like to see concrete evidence, proof that these people are actually doing that with the money that they're being incentivized with, or that they're allowed to keep. They're not creating jobs. If they were, we wouldn't have the jobs crisis, because they've had the Bush tax cuts for years now, and we still haven't seen job growth.
That is true. But now, I also want to tell you, right after the World War II, United States has a tax of as much as 90%. In fact, they came out with a tax specifically for one citizen.
You're kidding me.
Rockefeller. Rockefeller was the only person who was making more than $5 million, and there's a special tax rate for anybody making over $5 million, and he was the only citizen. So taxes have been used to soak the rich. It is okay. In fact, I read in Financial Times that when UK had a 95% tax, well, Beatles wrote a song. Because they say it hurts to keep the 5%. They much rather give all of it, And a lot of people went to Monaco and the other places to get out of that 95%. But since then, yeah, the rates are down.
Well, drastic times call for drastic measures. We are facing a crisis in our economy that seems to be not just a U.S. phenomenon, it's a global phenomenon. And if these other countries are making difficult choices, what makes the U.S. so special that it shouldn't be looking at those choices as well?
I agree with you. I want to tell you a story about Warren Buffett. So this email came to me, and of course it's all about, this is what Warren Buffett says. You just pass a law that says that anytime there's a deficit of more than 3% of GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election.
I love that.
There's no tenure in Congress. You've got to be elected. It's not like a professor that for your lifetime you're going to get benefits. It's a no tenure and no pension, Social Security, and presently confiscate all the pension funds of the Congress, put it in the Social Security, and everybody's on Social Security. I like that. Generally you would think that there must be a contract between people and the Congress, because Congress write these laws not for themselves, for everybody else, and they have awarded themselves so many benefits.
And raises.
There is no such contract. I don't think we approved of one, did you?
Absolutely not. In fact, if anything, I would like to see term limits come into play. I think there are too many stalwart Republicans and Democrats on both sides that are just sitting there refusing to engage in any kind of compromise. And so if we're going to have gridlock, let it at least be sustained for a small period of time and not indefinite, like we have been stuck and paralyzed for at least the last presidency, if not two presidencies.
That's true. And out of the 27 amendments to the Constitution, 7 took 1 year or less to become the law of the land. And you can help it. Get ourselves a couple of congressmen to sponsor it in the Congress and a couple of senators to sponsor it in the Senate, and we got ourselves this in less than 1 year if everybody's behind it. Remember, 26 of the amendments were passed long before there was a computer or an email or mass email and all of that.
That's the interesting thing about this write-up, is that what he's basically saying is technology has actually slowed down the process.